This talk is Keep Yourself Alive, Stopping the Effects of Burnout. So it was just introduced about me, so I was an early employee of Evernote and Spirit Airlines. I've been the fractional CTO for multiple companies, the only female advisory board chair of an engineering school. I've won a ton of awards over the years, columnist for Inc. magazine, Forbes, Tech.co. I've been on the road for 150 plus days a year for the last 15 years, except this one, although started out for 21 days on the road to go to Antarctica. So it was going to be a good year. And I have 20 plus years of experience in getting burned out. I'm really good to give this talk to you today. So what I want to know is why my clicker has decided to stop working right now. So hold on. All right, what is stress? Well, stress is the body's automatic response to any physical or mental demand placed on it. We live in a stressful world. That stress response was a fight or flight response marked by the outpouring of epinephrine and neuroepinephrine from your inner adrenal glands. It increases heart and respiration rates, immobilizes sugar and fat, and dulls pain. The hypothalamus and the pituitary glands also respond to stress by triggering the outer adrenal glands, and it secretes cortisol. So this is something that we're supposed to do. But it doesn't matter whether we're work or play. Stress is the driving force that keeps us on our toes and ensures that we push ourselves to be the best that we can be. After bereavement or divorce, work is the third biggest cause of stress. Over half of all workers today believe that stress is damaging to their health. As well as impacting people on people's health and well-being, it can also damage social lives and relationships. Adrenaline is that chemical that's naturally produced in our body as a response to stress. And while you may think that stress is all bad, it's not. There's a type of stress called eustress that you've probably never heard of that's deemed healthful, and it gives somebody that feeling of fulfillment. Eustress is positive, it energizes you, and it's generally short-term. It can improve your performance, and it's believed to be within coping mechanisms. Like, it's something that you can handle. So positive personal stressors are starting a new job, receiving that promotion or a raise at work, going on a holiday or a vacation, like to Antarctica, moving into a new home, learning something new, retiring, buying a new home, having a child that you don't have to be around all the time because of COVID land. But when you are stressed, there's always that maximum level of performance that you're supposed to be at. There's that line that you should be in. So if you're at the perfect level, you're going to be okay. But even with eustress, you don't want to get bored. If you go into the other side, some stress will cause you issues. And that's called distress. Distress causes you great pain, anxiety or sorrow, acute physical or mental suffering, and affliction or trouble. Distress feels unpleasant. We're used to this. This is what we think about when we think of stress usually. It depletes our energy, and it can be short or long term. It decreases our overall performance and perceived outside coping mechanisms. It's something we can't handle. It can lead to physical illness, mental fatigue, or emotional depletion. Negative personal stressors are like the death of a significant person, financial challenges, major personal injuries or illness, unemployment, which is a big problem in the US right now, legal issues, being abused or neglected, and a change in health or behavior of a family member, or being fired at work, which is slightly different than unemployment, because as we all know, at some point in our lives, we're going to have to go through that stress of knowing what it's like to lose that job. But everyone is going through stress at some point in time, and we're told that it's okay. We're told that it's normal, and people tell us to just get on with it. So what are these stressors that we're dealing with every day? Stressors are different from one person to the other. Situations, activities, and relationships that cause trauma to one's physical, emotional, or psychological self can lead to this burnout. Those things are like lack of control, an inability to influence decisions that affect your job, such as schedule, assignments, or workload, could lead to job burnout. So could a lack of the resources you need to do your work. Unclear job expectations. If you're unclear about the degree of authority you have or what your supervisor or others expect from you, you're not likely to feel comfortable at work. Dysfunctional workplace dynamics. Perhaps you work with an office bully, or you feel undermined by colleagues, or your boss micromanages your work. This can contribute to job stress. Mismatch in values. If your values differ from the way your employer does business or handles grievances, the mismatch can eventually take a toll. Poor job fit. If your job doesn't fit your interests and skills, it might become increasingly stressful over time. Extremes of activity. When a job is monotonous or chaotic, you need constant energy to remain focused, which can lead to fatigue and job burnout. Lack of social support. If you feel isolated at work and in your personal life, you might feel more stressed. And work-life imbalance. If your work takes up so much of your time and effort that you don't have the energy to spend time with your family and friends, you may burn out quickly. So, how do you know that the stress is just stress or something more? Well, too much stress can lead to burnout. A lot of burnout really has to do with experiencing chronic stress. In those situations, the demands being placed on you exceed the resources you have available to deal with the stressors. Left unchecked, burnout can wreak havoc on your health, happiness, relationships, and job performance. In order to catch burnout and combat it early, it's important to know what to look out for. What are the signs? Well, you're tired all the time. No matter how much you sleep, it's just not enough. You just can't wake up no matter how much you sleep. You don't want to do anything. It's something that if somebody's trying to get you interested in something that you used to be interested in, you're still bored. You can't find the motivation to do something. You become more of a disillusioned cynic. Now, a lot of us as programmers are already pretty snarky, right? Well, this is beyond that. This is something that keeps us, everything is just negative. Your brain stops working. Burnout and chronic stress may interfere with your ability to pay attention or concentrate. When we're stressed, our attention narrows to focus on the negative element that we perceive as a threat. In the short term, this helps us deal with the problem at hand, but our bodies and brains are designed to handle this in short bursts and then return to normal functioning. When stress becomes chronic, this narrow focus continues for a long time, and we have difficulty paying attention to other things. This fight or flight tunnel vision can negatively affect your ability to solve problems or make decisions. You might find that you're more forgetful and have a harder time remembering things. Your work starts to suck. Not sure whether you're burnt out? Compare your job performance now to your performance in previous years, because burnout tends to happen over an extended period of time. Taking this long-term view might reveal a temporary slump or experiencing more chronic burnout. Right now, you may think that because we're in a different world than we've been in before, you might be burned out. This is why it's important to compare yourself not just to the last 3 months, but to the last 3 years. See if it's just something temporary that the whole world is going through, or something that is more longer term. You can't deal with people. This tends to play out in one of two ways. You're having more conflicts with other people, such as getting into arguments, or you withdraw, talking to your coworkers and family members less. You might find that even when you're physically there, you're tuned out. You stop taking care of yourself. This happens a lot with developers. When suffering from burnout, some people engage in unhealthy coping strategies like drinking too much, smoking, being too sedentary, eating too much junk food, not eating enough, or not getting enough sleep. Self-medication is another issue and could include relying on sleeping pills to sleep, drinking more alcohol at the end of the day to de-stress, or even drinking more coffee to summon up the energy to drag yourself into work in the morning. You're preoccupied with work. Even though you might not be working at any given moment, if you're expending mental energy mulling over your job, then your work is interfering with your ability to recover from the stresses of your day. In order to recover, you need time to yourself after the actual task stops, and time when you stop thinking about that task altogether. Nothing makes you happy. This is the tendency to feel less happy and satisfied with your career and your home life. You might feel dissatisfied or even stuck when it comes to whatever's going on at home, in the community, or with your social activities. And your health starts to suffer. Over a long period of time, serious chronic stress can create real health problems like digestive issues, heart disease, depression, and obesity. For me, when I noticed that I was going into burnout, was at Evernote, when I found myself crying on the floor of an elevator. I had been shunned by other people in my office because my hair started to be thinner, my face started to hollow out, and people noticed that there was something visibly wrong with me, but they just assumed I was stressed and overworked. It turned out that I'd actually gotten so stressed that I had developed cancer. Stress does not cause cancer. However, my body had gotten so weak from the overwork and stress that I had developed cancer from a weakened health state. So what they were seeing was my body literally eating itself from the inside. And it made other people afraid to be near me for the fear of what that could happen to them. My health started to suffer from overwork. I definitely do not want that to get so far to happen to anyone else. The difference between stress and burnout can seem like a very fine line. For stress, you get overengaged. You're reactive or have overreactive emotions. You have a sense of urgency and hyperactivity. You have lost or diminished energy, and this leads to anxiety, and it's physically tolling on you. But when you're burned out, you're simply disengaged. You have blunt or no emotions. You feel separated from your emotions. You have this sense of helplessness around you, like there's nothing that you could do, so why should you even try? Your motivation is lost or diminished. And this leads to feeling depressed, which turns into a cycle of depression. And it's emotionally tolling on you. The signs of burnout in the physical state are sleep problems, appetite changes, headaches, and shortness of breath, high blood pressure. The emotional toll is anxiety, depression, tension, irritability, and angry outbursts. And for mental, it's forgetfulness, lack of concentration, disorganization, indecisiveness, and pessimism. But you can change it. With stress management, you can improve immune function, reduce risk of illness and disease, enhance your positive outlook, relieve your daily pressures, ease physical aches and pains, improve your sleep, digestion, inner security, well-being, all of these things. So how can you do this? So what are the things that you can take action with today if you've noticed these signs in yourself or in someone else? And that's important because often, if you've gotten to the level of burnout, you are unable to pull yourself out of it. You'll need someone else to recognize it in you and pull you out of it. Because if you have no motivation, you're in that cycle of not wanting to do anything, feeling helpless to do anything. So someone else will have to help you. First thing, chill out. Whether you take up meditation, listening to music, reading a book, taking a walk, or visiting with friends and family. Truly think about what you'll do to relax and designate time for it. While we're all stuck in our homes, this can be as simple as just putting on some noise-canceling headphones and listening to some music. Just take some time for yourself. Take up meditation. That's a very good thing right now, but make sure that you're taking time for yourself. Create a life outside of work. Find something outside of work that you're passionate about, that's challenging, engaging, and really gets you going. Whether it's a hobby, sports or fitness activities, or volunteering in the community along with other items we mentioned here, like relaxation or being able to turn off and performing in rewarding non-work activities. I personally love Beat Saber, so that's something that I can do that puts outside of work, but I also volunteer. And as you saw on my list of activities, I volunteer at a lot of things. I write, I go out, and before, when I was at Evernote, I had nothing but Evernote. My family even worked at the company with me. Now I have a rich life outside of work. Get enough sleep. Research suggests that having fewer than 6 hours of sleep per night is a major risk factor for burnout, not least because poor sleep can have negative effects on your job performance and productivity. It can lead to fatigue, decrease your motivation, make you more sensitive to stressful events, and impair your mental function. It leaves you more susceptible to errors and makes it harder to juggle competing demands. The reverse is true too. If sleep can actually improve your memory. So if you have enough sleep, and by enough sleep, I mean sleeping until you wake up. Do not set an alarm. If you need to wake up at a certain time, go to bed earlier. So you need to sleep until your body wakes you up. Pay attention to those circadian rhythms because your body's telling you what it needs. Get organized. Often, when people are burnt out, they spend a lot of time worrying that they'll forget to do something or that something important is going to slip through the cracks. Get organized. Clear your head. Put together a to-do list or an electronic task list and then prioritize. That way, you don't have to keep thinking about those things because you'll have systems in place to remind you. And remember, priority means one thing, that most important thing that you should be doing. So do that thing. And then think of the next thing that is important. But only one should be on your mind at once. We are not made to multitask. Notice your patterns. It's important to tune into the precursors of these conditions, physical signs that you might be under too much stress. More headaches, tight shoulders, a stiff neck, or more frequent stomach upset. In terms of mental health, burnout affects depression. And if you're depressed, that can also affect your level of burnout. It goes both ways. So if the issues you're struggling with are really serious and getting worse, you may need to seek professional help. Talk to a psychologist to get help beyond support from just your friends and family members. So one of the things that I do to start this, that I recommend, is to estimate the time you spend on following activities. So we only have 168 hours in a week. That doesn't change. That's just the way things are. So figure out how many hours a day you spend sleeping, on personal things, on eating. We don't travel to and from work right now, but think about how much time you spend traveling and doing work and activities and stuff. And then when it adds up, you'll see how much time you have left for yourself. Then write down your journal of your feelings. When were you feeling stress and what caused it? If you were having trouble concentrating, write down when that was and what you were doing directly before that. Soon you'll start noticing the patterns that you have. And hopefully after a couple of weeks, you'll be able to do that without having to write it down, and you'll be able to identify what your triggers are. Find that cause, because it's not always you. Burnout is sometimes motivated by internal factors, and sometimes it really is a symptom of external ones. In the first case, you need to ask yourself, where is this coming from? So you can figure out what's stressing you out and how to maintain your internal resources to keep yourself motivated, doing your best work and functioning well. Some burnout really is the fault of work or COVID. In a survey we did in 2001, more than 2/3 of respondents said that their employers had taken steps to cut costs as a result of the recession, like hiring freezes, layoffs, cutting work hours, rolling back benefits, requiring unpaid days off, increasing hours, etc. All that increases the demand on workers. Those are the two components that play into burnout. There are more demands and fewer resources. To find out whether it's time to move on, figure out whether your position is a mismatch between your needs and what you're getting working for that organization. And then know when to fold them. Consider talking to your manager or HR about EAP services, mental health benefits, or stress management training, or at least know how to improve communication and create a better, more positive work environment. Angle the communication about how those cultural shifts will enable you to continue to serve the company and become an even better employee. I do think there's times when no matter what you try to do, the organization is unwilling or unable to make those changes. And in those cases, it's just time to move on. No matter what, if you try to make any of these changes, I guarantee that you will see a positive shift. So here are some resources that you can use to try and make this change today. For apps, you can use Headspace, which is a great meditation app. Stop, Breathe, Think, which is, again, some meditation you can use. Sleepbot, which helps you monitor your sleep. Chrometa, which helps you to see what you're actually doing online. And you can install it on your phone as well to see all the time you're spending on things. DoNothingFor2minutes.com, which actually is exactly what it says. It forces you to do nothing for 2 minutes. Noisely and Calm, which play background noise, which help you to calm down. And 7 Cups is a site that allows you to speak to someone about issues that you might be having. They're people like you, they're not trained psychologists, they're just other people in the world that are anonymous that can be there for you if you need to talk. If you do need help, I am a licensed and certified coach. I am not a psychologist, but I am able to help you if you do need some assistance with this, and I can refer you to other people that maybe speak the language that you do around the world. And if you want to talk, I'm always available. This is a very, very important topic right now and always, especially among our community, because a lot of us really don't think about it, but it's something that we need to think more about and speak more about, especially now. So thank you for having me speak today. I am happy to be part of the Build Stuff community.
Thank you, Heather. I think you touched really a sensitive topic. And well, if someone has any questions and wants to share their story, like Heather did, so perhaps someone wants to join us.
Heather, could you assemble that list with tools that you mentioned, and yes, so we could get that in writing?
Could I what?
All those things like the tools, the apps and the stuff.
Oh, yes.
Could you just make a list of that and give to Neringa so we can put it on?
I can share the slides with Neringa and then she can send them out.
Okay, thanks.
So well, I remember like our story when we're preparing to run a conference. It's not one day job, like Laura probably agree and Camilla agree. We have 2 months of not sleeping and stressing out. And then after the conference, it's another month to recover. So I'm not sure if like that 1 month we are taking to recover is a burnout or just because of so much stress we had. But well, yeah, you can't do anything after too much stress.
Yeah, so I see that someone's asking a similar question. How is burnout different from depression? So it's similar. So depression is like a body's way to recover. And burnout is similar. Like depression is a mental disorder, and there's many classifications, there's many levels of it, whereas burnout itself is your body telling you to stop. It's your body's natural way of recovering from distress or too much eustress. It's your body's way of recovering from too much of one kind of stress. So depression is a neurological chemical reaction in the brain, and burnout is an entire body reaction.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I am not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I am a developer. I'm a CTO that has also been trained in 5 modalities of coaching. So I am, like, as part of that, I have like some psychology backgrounds, but like I am not, and just out there as well, I have been, I was diagnosed as bipolar, which is a form of depression, when I was 18 years old, and I've been on, I myself, that's also known as manic depressive. So on top of all of the other things, I've had to deal with this myself for over 20 years. And yeah, so depression is something that lives in your brain, and burnout is something that lives in your body.
Mm-hmm. So how long it takes to go out of burnout? Is it like a timing? Like, let's say we will take 2 weeks off and then everything will be fine.
No, I mean, so you have to build habits to get out of burnout. And partially it's because it affects your whole body. So because you get depression and because you have body aches and because you have all these other things, you have to build habits to like get your body back to normal. You have to build habits to bring your motivation back. You have to build habits to bring yourself out of depression. And that's another reason why it's so important. If you haven't heard from a friend of yours in like 3 months that you used to hear from every day, which may seem normal now because like we only have time for a certain number of people. But like if that person was somebody that you used to like have coffee with every morning and they were very chipper, and now you haven't heard from them in 3 months, you might want to check in on them because that's an unusual habit for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you want to see what you can do to rebuild that habit for them of the check-in for coffee. What's the new version of that? And it's a new muscle. It's a muscle that you have to rebuild through the whole body to get out of burnout. For me, when I was burned out, like it took a good 6 months, and part of it was like one of the first things I did was I turned off notifications on my phone and on my computer, and I've kept it off for 4 years. I have not had notifications turned on anything for the last 4 years. I started traveling at least 1 week a year on a no tech vacation, and I do no tech days once a week because I recognized that was a big trigger for me. So in order to keep myself from going back into that old habit, I had to build a new one that would be more healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so thank you very much for all these thoughts. I think like you can use lots of tips that you mentioned here. I see someone is writing something. Balance is a key, Paulus said. Yes, I guess that's, well, everyone needs to find their own balance, isn't it? Okay, Heather, thank you so much.